Number 26. Fargo. With every one of the sorry movies nowadays, it is great to consider a film to be entertaining, devilish, sensational, and completely hysterical as Fargo. It's one of those movies that you simply need to see. William H. Macy gives an Oscar-named execution as a vehicle sales rep who employs two hooligans, one a smarty pants fool and the other a hysterical mental case, to hijack his better half so he can keep a portion of the payoff from her well-off father. Obviously nothing goes right, and Brainerd Sheriff Francis McDormand, in an Oscar-winning job, comes in to make all the difference. I won't offer anything in light of the fact that the material is excessively great to tell the people who haven't seen this creative film. Fargo was positioned on the 100 biggest movies list in 1996, and it was merited. In this period of by-the-numbers filmmaking, this film was a reviving flashback to the gamble-taking style that made the 1970s such an extraordinary 10 years for motion pictures. 5 stars out of 5. Number 27. The Night of the Hunter. It's the economic crisis of the early 20s. During the time spent denying a bank of $10,000, Ben Harper kills 2 individuals. Before he is caught, he can persuade his juvenile child John and his little girl Pearl not to tell anybody, including their mom Willa, where he concealed the cash, in particular in Pearl's number 1 toy, a doll that she conveys wherever with her. Ben, who is caught, attempted and indicted, is condemned to death. Be that as it may, before he is executed, Ben is in the state prison with a fellow prisoner, a man by the name of Harry Powell, a self-purported clergyman, who is actually a swindler and killer, cheating desolate ladies, fundamentally rich widows, of their cash before he kills them. Harry gives his best, fruitlessly, to figure out the area of the $10,000 from Ben. After Ben's execution, Harry concludes that Willa will be his next mark, calculating that somebody in the family knows where the cash is covered up. Regardless of promising not to remarry, Willa turns out to be simple prey for Harry's outward fervency. She is a devout lady who feels she really wants to make up for her wrongdoings, which prompted Ben doing what he did, particularly as Harry introduces himself as the minister who worked at the jail and gave salvation to Ben before his demise. Harry rapidly sorts out that John and Pearl know where the cash is. On the other hand, John doesn't confide in Harry, John who first makes an effort not to show to Harry that he without a doubt knows where the cash is, and afterwards second continually helps a more confiding in Pearl to remember their guarantee to their now perished father. With Willa committed to her new spouse, John and Pearl need another grown-up help with dodging Harry's subtle provocations, a grown-up who not exclusively can see the genuineness and goodness in kids yet who can likewise see a genuine scoundrel like Harry. Number 28. Rosemary's Baby. Envious of beginning a family, youthful Catholic homemaker Rosemary Woodhouse and her striving entertainer spouse fellow move into the Bramford, New York City's famous structure overflowing with undesirable accounts of dark inhabitants and horrendous events. Also, in a little while, the erratic nearby neighbors Roman and Minnie Castevet become friends with the youthful couple. In practically no time subsequently, Rosemary gets pregnant. Be that as it may, as the unpracticed mother turns out to be efficiently cut off from her friend network, disturbing traces of an evil, very much arranged scheme begin to arise, encasing shy Rosemary in a cover of doubt and mental desolation. However, for what reason is everybody so advantageously anxious to help? Most importantly, why is fellow permitting it? Number 29. Chinatown. In 1937 Los Angeles, confidential examiner Jake J. Jaggetts has some expertise in cheating mate cases. His momentum target is Hollis Mulry, high-profile boss architect for the Los Angeles branch of Water and Power, whose spouse associates him with treachery. In following Mulry, Getz observes some typical transactions, for example, a public gathering for development of another dam to make extra water supply for Los Angeles, as new water is fundamental to the developing local area during the constant dry season. Mulry goes against the dam. Ultimately Getz sees Mulry meeting with an obscure young lady who isn't his significant other. When fresh insight about the alleged tryst among Mulry and this lady stirs things up around town, extra data becomes known that causes Getz to accept that Mulry is being outlined for something and that he, at the end of the day, is being set up. In his examination of the issue behind Mallory's outlining and his own arrangement, Gitz is helped by Mallory's significant other Evelyn, however he thinks she isn't candid with him. The further he gets into the examination, the more mysteries he reveals about the Mulrays' expert and individual dealings, including Mallory's previous business association with Evelyn's dad, Noel Cross. The personality of the obscure lady might be the way to revealing the entire story. Number 30. The Apartment. Billy Moore Out of Control's The Loft is his most prominent achievement. It is his best merging of parody and show that he never entirely pulled off again. I'm happy the Foundation had sufficient great taste to grant Moore Out of Control the Triple Crown, Best Picture/Chief/Screenplay. Be that as it may, they actually had sufficient terrible taste to deny Jack Lemmon a Best Entertainer grant, Shirley MacLaine a Best Entertainer grant and Fred MacMurray a Selection and grant. The plot this time, C.C. Baxter, Lemmon, in the event that you're pondering, C for Calvin, C for Clifford, yet a great many people refer to me as Bud lends out his loft to leaders for their extramarital trysts in the week any desire for an advancement. At last, his chief, Sheldrake, MacMurray, magnificent in an uncommon straight job, finds out and needs the key for his own issues. In the meantime, Baxter really likes Miss Kubelik, MacLaine, in a solid performance the lift administrator. For the individuals who blame me for ruining the entire film, have confidence. This main covers the initial 20 minutes or so of the brief component. More Stunning has many wins and deceives at his disposal, and I'll pass on you to find what occurs. What stuns me about the condo is that, not normal for most movies, this isn't about the plot. It's a concentrate in human instinct and the mix-ups they make. That is major areas of strength for one of most More Stunning movies, counting Kiss Me, Idiotic and The Fortune Treat, both funny comedies with a deeper significance. Likewise, the discourse by More Out of Control and IAL Jewel isn't only jokes, despite the fact that they are amusing, particularly when spoken by Lemmon and Bean Walston. There is truly sincere feeling here, and it isn't the sugary kind that makes my stomach beat, as in films like Fix Adams. More Out of Control permits to the point of coming to his meaningful conclusions and afterward returns to parody. The cinematography is marvelous as well. More Stunning's film, as the vast majority of his 60s films, is in widescreen high contrast, shot by Joseph Lachelle, in Panavision. Perhaps of the most uncelebrated and unnoticed cinematographer ever, he was selected however lost. It has a crisp, clean look and is one of a handful of the widescreen films that really cause the watcher to feel bound in a restricted space. The Loft is a predominant illustration of the serious parody, films that work as both satire and show. Tragically, a large number of the present movie producers have moved away from this class. I can't resist the urge to feel that the opportunities conceded today that weren't during the 1950s and 60s haven't been a development. They've been keeping us down. Savvy characters have lost way to dumb and oversexed ones. That is a genuine disgrace, and it's about time we return to our underlying foundations. Number 31. La Vie en Rose. I'm happy I went to see L.A. Môme, or L.A. Strive on Rose. I lived it up at the motion pictures. Subsequent to seeing it, I understood what a decent life I have. However, genuinely, Marion Cotillard's exhibition is completely astounding, regardless of whether her presentation verges on exaggeration. I understood that anything Cotillard and the Chief were endeavoring to do, it was worth the effort, and that incorporates the French caricatural acting. The main thing I thought got carried away was the drama. Edith Piaf's life is loaded up with misfortune. We are very much aware of this, yet the producer didn't have to harp on it endlessly. Essentially every scene in L.A. Strive on Rose is taken from the huge book of acting. It's difficult to accept Edith didn't have one blissful second during her days as either a youngster or a youthful grown-up. Following 45 minutes of relentless misery, the film was laying it pretty thick. The best illustration of this was when Edith and her companion were eating at a cafe. It was whenever we first saw Edith eating a feast in a eatery as a young lady. Simply showing her partaking in her feast and talking with her companion would have been amusing to see. However, at that point Edith's alienated mother strolls in, asking for food and cash from her little girl, and all things considered, same story, different day, more drama. The film required all the more tranquil minutes to adjust Edith's yet shocking life. The consistent malo was on occasion disconcerting. Edith's life is noteworthy enough without depending on simple drama to tell it. The end impact resembled the chief needed to intrigue more youthful ages, who are new to Edith, by showing her life as being more restless than Courtney Love's life might at any point be. At the theater where I saw it, an old couple before me left most of the way into the image, apparently not satisfied with the depressing portrayal of the darling Chanteuse. The chief was clearly infatuated with the idea that extraordinary workmanship rises up out of misfortune/torment/enduring. However, he conveyed this idea to a lamentable level. My other evaluate of LA's Drive on Rose is that the content neglected significant perspectives about her life. Obviously they couldn't cover each part of her incredible life, however neglecting to specify that Edith was the person who found Yves Montand or that she had a significant influence of the French opposition was unforgivable. I comprehend that they needed to make a particular picture of her life. Making a life story isn't a simple thing to do. It can undoubtedly fall into two classifications. It very well may be a careful scholastic depiction of her life, which many view as drawn out and dull, or it might have been a ridiculously erroneous depiction, made with numerous emotional licenses, to more engage. One way or the other, a precise, honest depiction of anybody's life is a difficulty, and the overseer of LA's Drive on Rose is aware of this and purposely stayed away from certain things about Edith which would have clashed with this picture he needed to make. However, the way that Yves Montand didn't actually figure someplace in this representation was, exceptionally strange. This brings another point: the film is so centered around Edith that any remaining characters are pushed behind the scenes and we barely know what their identity is. Edith's star is splendid to such an extent that she overshadows everybody around her. This part didn't annoy me that much since I understood the chief needed to zero in just on Edith, yet it would have been good to have realized who was who. Yet, even with these flimsy spots, I actually suggest LA compete on Rose. It's the kind of film we seldom see nowadays, large, conspicuous and strikingly discouraging. Marion Cotillard ought to win many honors for her dazzling depiction. It's genuinely something special to observe and it merits the cost of affirmation. Furthermore, the music, obviously, is perfect. Number 32. There Will Be Blood. The converging biographies of Daniel Plainview and Eli Sunday in mid-20th century California is introduced. Excavator-turned-oilman Daniel Plainview is a determined man who will take the necessary steps to accomplish his objectives. He tries sincerely, yet he additionally exploits people around him to their detriment in the event that need be. His colleague is his child H.W., who as a general rule he obtained when H.W.'s organic single parent, who dealt with one of Daniel's apparatuses, wound up dead in a working environment mishap. Daniel is profoundly defensive of H.W. if by some stroke of good luck for what H.W. brings to the organization. Eli Sunday is one in a couple of twins, whose family ranch Daniel buys for the significant oil store situated on it. Eli, the nearby evangelist and a self-broadcasted confidence healer, needs the cash from the offer of the property to back his own congregation. The existences of the two serious men frequently conflict as Daniel siphons oil off the property and attempts to obtain all the encompassing area at ill costs to have the option to construct a pipeline to the coast, and as Eli attempts to fabricate his own strict realm. Number 33. All About Eve. Eve Harrington, Anne Baxter, is standing by behind the stage to meet her godlike object, gifted however maturing Broadway star Margot Channing, Bette Davis. It appears to be blameless enough as Eve makes sense of that she has seen Margot in each presentation of her ongoing play. Margot and her companions encourage Eve, yet just theater pundit Addison DeWitt, George Sanders, sees through Eve's malicious arrangement, which is to take Margot's parts and her life partner, Bill Simpson, Gary Merrill, as well. What a virtuoso Joseph L. Mankiewicz was. A scholarly content that is absolutely open. A drama for the reasoning man. A film that is as immersing and engaging each time you see it. Bette Davis hits every one of the crude sore spots of her fanciful profession. Anne Baxter never went this far. Thelma Ritter turned into a kind of symbol. Marilyn Monroe provides us with a sea of impending attractions as a moved on from the Copacabana Institute of Emotional Expressions. Celeste Holm addresses us, we all, and George Sanders makes a model for a refined beast that is promptly unmistakable. I don't remember one more film in which the idea of childishness is so cleverly took apart. A complete victory. Number 34. Life is Beautiful. In 1930s Italy, a light-hearted Jewish server named Guido begins the fantasy life by seeking and wedding a wonderful lady from a close-by city. Guido and his better half have a child and live cheerfully together until the control of Italy by German powers. While trying to keep his family intact and assist his child with enduring the detestations of a Jewish death camp, Guido envisions that the Holocaust is a game and that the fantastic award for winning is a tank. It makes you cry while snickering, makes a profound concordance. Guido is an astounding person and acting. The content depicts the conceivable aggravation quite well. Attempting to make damnation lovely, Guido is a remarkable person. It's the best film I've seen as of late. It is altogether different from the misrepresented smash hit rundown of IMDb Top 250. Number 35. Apocalypse Now. It is the level of the conflict in Vietnam, and U.S. Armed Force Skipper Willard is sent by Colonel Lucas and a general to complete a mission that, formally, doesn't exist, nor will it at any point exist. The mission, to search out a puzzling Green Beret Colonel, Walter Kurtz, whose military has crossed the boundary into Cambodia and is directing quick in and out missions against the Viet Cong and NVA. The military accepts Kurtz has gone totally crazy and Willard's responsibility is to dispense with him. Willard, sent up the Nong Stream on a U.S. Naval Force watch boat, finds that his objective is one of the most adorned officials in the U.S. Armed Force. His team gets together with surfer-type Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore, top of a U.S. Armed Force helicopter cavalry bunch which takes out a Viet Cong station to give a passage point into the Nong Stream. After a few hair-raising experiences, in which a portion of his group are killed, Willard, spear and gourmet expert arrive at Colonel Kurtz's station, past the Dulong extension. Presently, subsequent to becoming detainees of Kurtz, can Willard and the others satisfy their central goal? Number 36. The Philadelphia Story. Philadelphia socialites Tracy Lord and C.K. Dexter Asylum wedded indiscreetly. Their marriage and ensuing separation are similarly enthusiastic. They separated while Dexter's drinking, a system to adapt to Tracy's unforgiving way toward Dexter's blemishes, became unnecessary. 2 years after their separation, Tracy is going to remarry in a service at her family's house. Her new husband is nouveau riche financial specialist and hopeful legislator George Kittredge, who is generally a normal man who adores Tracy. The day preceding the wedding, 3 startling visitors appear at the Master Manor: Macaulay Connor, Mike to his companions, and Elizabeth Embry, the 2 companions of Tracy's missing sibling Junius, and Dexter. He works for the newspaper Spy magazine and made an arrangement with its distributor and manager Sidney Kidd to get a story on Tracy's wedding, the wedding of the year, as a trade-off for Kidd not distributing a lecherous story with going with photos of Tracy's dad, Seth Master, with New York showgirl Tina Mara. In actuality, Mike and Liz are the columnist and picture taker for Spy. Mike and Liz could do without this task or working for Kidd, yet they're picked different fields as serious author and painter don't take care of the bills. A dubious Tracy is onto them, and when Dexter concedes reality, she chooses to reverse the situation on Mike and Liz. Be that as it may, hours before the wedding, as the more confident Dexter and Liz get to chip away at how to get the rulers free from Spy's statements, Tracy and Mike, both intoxicated, go on an excursion of self-revelation with Tracy eventually arriving at her understandings somewhat quicker than Mike. Number 37. The Sting. Johnny Hooker, a modest fraud, unwittingly takes from Doyle Lonigan, a hotshot kingpin, when he pulls a standard road con. Lonigan requests fulfillment for the affront. After his accomplice, Luther, is killed, prostitute escapes, and looks for the assistance of Henry Gondorff, one of Luther's contacts, who is an expert of the long con. Prostitute needs to utilize Gondorff's mastery to take Lonigan for a colossal amount of cash to set things straight, since he concedes he has close to zero familiarity with killing to kill him. They devise a muddled plan and store up a skilled gathering of other swindlers who need their portion of the compensations. A lot is on the line in this game, and our legends should manage Lonergan's dangerous propensities, yet additionally opposite side players who need a slice of the pie. To win, Hooker and Gondorf will require all their skills, and a decent lot of certainty. Basically, for first-time watchers, the film is extremely difficult to beat, and it's not difficult to perceive how this $5.5 million film acquired more than $159 million locally, making this a super blockbuster. It's an outstanding film all around. Number 38. Waiting for Guffman. The occupants of Blaine, Missouri, one self-announced home of the principal UFO arriving in the U.S., Blaine occupants tend to disagree with Roswell's cases, and stool capital of the world, are amped up for the town's impending sesquicentennial festivities, which will have as its focal point the first melodic creation, Red, White and Blaine. Helped by secondary school music instructor Lloyd Mill operator, Corky St. Clair, the melodics author/arranger and previous New York theater proficient, off-Broadway, who right now drives the Blaine People Group Players, will rudder the creation. Corky and Lloyd are amped up for their capable cast of local people and the creation overall, Corky and Lloyd themselves' identity as incompetent and ignorant as their cast. Corky and organization are particularly expecting the presence of Mort Guffman in the crowd on premiere night, he a delegate of the renowned New York-based Oppenheimer Association. To Corky, a good survey from Guffman implies that the creation is making a beeline for Broadway. Through all the highs and lows and more downs of the pre-creation, everybody in Blaine actually can hardly hang tight for premiere night and the appearance of Guffman, upon who the cast and group's fantasies rest. Number 39. Citizen Kane. The source book of Orson Welles, regardless a brilliant film. Specifically less thunderous than a portion of Welles' later contemplations on the idea of force, maybe, yet at the same time totally arresting as an examination of a resident, paper big shot William Randolph Hearst by some other name, under doubt of having soured the pursuit of happiness. Its symbolism, not failing to remember the harsh roofs, as well as delightedly investigates his dominance of another jargon, actually flabbergasts and enchants, from the initial shot of the restricting entryways of Xanadu to the last look at the disappearing rosebud, discolored, perhaps, yet at the same time an intense image. A film that gets better with each restored colleague. Number 40. Singin' in the Rain. 1927 Hollywood. Fantastic Pictures' greatest stars, marvelous on-screen couple Lena Lamont and Ware Lockwood, are likewise an off-screen couple assuming the exchange papers and tattle sections are to be accepted. Both sustain the public discernment if by some stroke of good luck to satisfy their revering fans and carry individuals into the cinemas. As a general rule, Ware scarcely endures her, while Lena, regardless of reasoning where underneath her, moronically accepts what she sees on screen to reinforce her own fame and healthy identity significance. R.F. Simpson, Great's head, excuses his thought process is a fleeting sensation, talking pictures. It isn't until The Jazz Vocalist, 1927, turns into a genuine hit which brings about all the cinemas introducing sound hardware that R.F. knows fantastic, most explicitly as Ware and Lena, need to get on board with the talking picture fad, in spite of nobody at the studio having significant familiarity with the innovation. Artist Cosmo Brown, Ware's closest companion, gets recruited as Stupendous Thoughts man and melodic chief. Furthermore, at this point, Ware has furtively begun dating Kathy Selden, a chorale young lady who is attempting to become showbiz royalty and envisions herself. Ware and Kathy's relationship is notwithstanding their not exactly cordial beginning gathering. Cosmo and Kathy help Ware, who had moved gradually up through the film positions to fame, attempt to take the jump toward talking picture fame, with Kathy tracking with the way. In any case, they need to conquer the mechanical issues. However, the more serious issue is Lena, who will effectively guarantee she likewise takes the fruitful jump into talking pictures, regardless of her own failures and to everybody else's detriment in the event that they impede her, particularly Kathy as Ware's off-screen sweetheart and perhaps his new talking picture driving woman. Number 41. The Celebration. At the point when a dad turns 60, his huge family assembles at a palace to celebrate him. Everyone likes and regards him profoundly, or isn't that right? The most youthful child is attempting to satisfy his dad's assumptions. He runs a barbecue bar in a messy piece of Copenhagen. The most seasoned child runs a cafe in France. The sister is an anthropologist. The more seasoned sister has as of late tended it all, and the dad requests that the most established child say a couple of words regarding her, since he is apprehensive he will break into tears on the off chance that he does it without anyone else's help. The most seasoned child concurs without contention. All things considered, he has proactively composed 2 talks, a yellow and a green one. At the table, he requests that the dad pick a discourse. The dad picks green. The most established child reports that this is the discourse of truth. Everyone chuckles, aside from the dad, who looks apprehensive. He realizes that his most established child is going to uncover the mystery of why his sister committed suicide. Number 42. The Lives of Others. Subsequent to seeing the exceptional Skillet's Maze, I was unable to comprehend how anything could beat it to the Oscar for Best Film, not to mention the honor of Best Unfamiliar Film. That was until I saw The Existences of Others. Laying it out plainly, this is the best film delivered in years. The system of the story encompasses a Stasi official who is doled out to screen an essayist and his entertainer sweetheart considered faithful to East German system. That is all I'm ready to uncover in light of the fact that this film works on so many levels that I wouldn't know where to start. On a superficial level, this can be delighted in as a tight show, yet basically it is an investigation of the human condition and the limit with regards to empathy and mankind exists in even the most heartless individuals. This is all shot against the setting of the grays and browns of socialist East Germany. As a film, it is basically perfect. The 3 focal exhibitions are downright electric, with especially Ulrich Muhe giving one of the best driving man exhibitions since Al Pacino in The Guardian. This would be impossible without a splendid content and praiseworthy heading, that rejuvenates the characters, removing the best out of the entertainers. The outcome is no words are squandered, and each scene is important and skillfully imagined. This figures out how to investigate profound issues without being bloated, is moving without being depleting, and stays grasping and engaging without being shallow. In synopsis, this is film production at its best. The kind of film you will go down acting with great humility and give recognition to the innovator of film, since this is how things have been that film was made for. You'll excuse an extended period of drawn out continuations and gold mines, for the one day that movies like this get delivered. Number 43. American Beauty. Following 14 years working in a similar office, Lester Burnham, Spacey, is going to get canned. Following 20 years wedded to a similar lady, he can't handle her any longer. Carolyn, Binning, is not any more partial to him. Furthermore, concerning their girl, Jane, Birch, she's simply kicking the bucket from the shame, all things considered, thus the worm turns. Leaving his place of employment, he considers what he's lost, and he starts to seek press, smoke pot and have a good time playing with Jane's closest companion, Angela. It very well may be frenzy, however essentially he can look himself in the mirror without flinching. The best checked on film of 1999, and victor of 5 Oscars, is a cleaned and sour social parody with nonconformist inclinations. How does Lester respond yet turn on, tune in, and nonconformist? Truly, he's not really gallant. As a matter of fact, the genuine legend of the piece is his neighbor's young person, Ricky Bentley, and the genuine lowlife is Ricky's dad. Having laid out a conspicuously funny, cynical voice in Spacey's portrayal, Alan Ball's screenplay tempers gnawing mind with surprising sympathy for even the most unpleasant characters. Chief Mendez guides a guileful way among want and self-disdain, playing youth against experience, male against female. It's a shade excessively pat to be genuinely life-changing, and as a tension film it's honestly unconvincing. However, it more than once rises above its clear impediments to demand. After Arthur Mill Operator, consideration should be paid. Number 44. Leone, the Professional. After her dad, stepmother, stepsister and younger sibling are killed by her dad's bosses. The 12-year-old little girl of a wretched street pharmacist figures out how to take asylum in the condo of an expert contract killer who at her solicitation shows her the techniques for his work so she can get back at the bad DEA specialist who demolished her life by killing her darling sibling. In a vocation of exemplary exhibitions, this might be Judy Reith's best job and one that positively utilizes her numerous gifts as far as possible. James Artisan gives an Oscar-type execution also, and I trust in practically whatever other year that he wasn't facing Brando's on the waterfront execution he would and ought to have won. This George Cukor film highlights dazzling variety and lovely cinematography, yet experiences rough altering that might be the consequence of re-established film. The task to re-establish north of an hour of missing film rejected by the makers after the first length was more than 4.5 hours might have been finished with the best expectations, yet is as yet deficient and leaves the film incoherent and clearly inadequate. I surely wish the first film was rarely rejected, yet this patchy endeavor at reclamation causes you to feel like you're observing to a greater degree an undertaking rather than an exemplary film. Some of the time toning it down would be ideal, and certainly for this situation. Anything you really do ensure you see the widescreen form of this film that was initially shot in CinemaScope, or you will just see about 33% of the genuine picture, and I guarantee you won't have any desire to miss any of it. Number 46. Casablanca. Individuals who made this film didn't think they were creating a showstopper. Bergman left the shoot disturbed. The screenwriters were on compensation for Warner's, composing about 6 films every year, and this was only one more. Bogey was checking in the center of a workhorse profession. So as a crowd of people part, you can't plunk down anticipating plated significance. Try not to have a Casablanca party. Try not to watch it on your most memorable date, trusting it will own that heartfelt touch. Don't watch it as a component of your I want to watch the best 10 motion pictures ever film school project. Purchase this film on DVD. Have it primed and ready. And afterward, one Friday night, when your arrangements fall through and you find it's 10:30 p.m. and there's nothing on television that is any great, open a 6-pack of brew, or present yourself with some wine, and watch this film in an obscure room. The characters in Casablanca are totally absent any and all sentimentalism. All of them seize the world with scarcely any rose variety in their focal points. As Rick says, 3 little individuals don't mean anything in this monstrous world. On the off chance that you're in a temperament where you comprehend what he's talking about, watch this film and it will ship you. There is no single film that should be known as the best film ever. Since motion pictures, regardless, don't mean anything. They are intended to engage us, not so much for us to venerate them. Yet, no film has at any point realized this reality like Casablanca. In the event that you watch Casablanca along these lines, without any assumptions, with no publicity, you could get 10% of its significance on one review. Also, that will be sufficient to begin you on your way. Number 47. A Matter of Life and Death. Getting back to Britain from a bombarding run in May 1945, pilot Peter Carter's plane is harmed and his parachute destroyed. He has his team rescue securely, however figures it is drapes for himself. He gets on the radio, and converses with June, a youthful American lady working for the U.S. Armed Force Flying Corps, and they are very moved by one another's voices. Then, at that point, he bounces, favoring this to wrecking with his plane. He awakens in the surf. It was his opportunity to pass on. However, there was a mistake in paradise. They couldn't track down him in all that mist. When his guide finds him 20 hours after the fact, Peter and June have met and become hopelessly enamored. This makes a huge difference, and since it occurred through no issue of his own, Peter calculates that paradise owes him another opportunity. Paradise consents to a preliminary to determine his destiny. Number 48. An American in Paris. The enchantment of An American in Paris is because of the imaginative altering under the course of Vincent Minnelli and the sets that MGM planned mixed with some foundation laying out shots. The possibility of the film began with Kelly, who needed essentially to do a film with an extended Artful Dance grouping including George Gershwin's Tone Sonnet and American in Paris. It sounded great to Arthur Liberated, who moved toward Ira Gershwin, who expressed fine with him as long as they utilized other Gershwin material. Gershwin got the sort of arrangement for Gershwin music that Irving Berlin ordinarily got. Not one note of non-Gershwin music is heard in An American in Paris. Stand by listening to a portion of the ambient sound and you will hear things like Embraceable You and Yet Not For Me, which are not genuine melodic numbers. Another person who was a fair hand at composing verses, Alan J. Lerner, composed the story, which as a matter of fact is a slight one. About an ex-GI played by Quality Kelly, who after the Second Great War never left France, just sunk into a loft on the left bank and continued to turn into a destitute craftsman. He lives with capricious writer Oscar Levant and does that consistently strong like an overt repetitiveness. Two ladies are keen on him. One more exile American played by Nina Foch, who needs to support him as a painter in the event that he'll respond in different issues. In any case, Kelly succumbs to a shop young lady played by Leslie Caron in her film debut. Caron additionally has melodic parody star Georges Gaitari intrigued by here. Obviously the plot is only a reason to sing and move to the music of George Gershwin. An American in Paris is the very first film I saw as an in-flight film on the principal plane excursion I at any point took. I actually recollect flying back from Phoenix, Arizona to Kennedy Air Terminal seeing Quality Kelly doing I Have Mood. My number one number in the film anyway is Trela, which Kelly sings and moves all around the loft with Oscar Levant playing the piano. At a certain point Kelly moves on top of the child fantastic piano. In a book about Arthur Liberated, I read a statement where he said in The American in Paris Artful Dance succession was to be finished with the foundation of the French Impressionists, which he felt general society would take to as opposed to a practical setting in the city or back parcel. So it happened that way. Kelly had done extended Artful Dance groupings in Words and Music, The Privateer, and On the Town. However, this one bested them all. Still does, as I would like to think, and that incorporates some of Quality Kelly's later movies. Number 49. Mean Streets. Charlie might be modest, yet the power and remaining of his uncle Giovanni locally of Little Italy offers him the opportunity to turn out to be something other than a neighborhood hawker. Something he ought to watch out for is the organization he keeps and who he remains with. Sadly, Charlie is extremely defensive of his cousin Johnny Kidd, who appears not set in stone to get however much cash as could be expected, bet it away and not repay it, and furthermore in that frame of mind with Johnny's connection to Teresa. While the tomfoolery and energy of the road life proceeds, dim results of everything undermine Charlie and everyone around him. It has been a very long time since I saw this film, and I saw that I had last watched it before I began exploring. Accordingly I watched it again yesterday to revive my memory. Seeing it with more seasoned eyes is a noteworthy encounter, since I value what Scorsese has proceeded to do and found it entrancing to think back on this, quite possibly of his earliest film. The plot is a crush of characters and occasions that meet up to make a feeling of spot that is convincingly finished. The general story centers around Charlie, specifically where his connections are taking him, however this perspective back and forth movements with the occasions. It is entertaining, vicious, individual and drawing in. A couple of viewpoints come over as frail. The content streams like genuine exchange, creating the various states of mind of every scene and furthermore being important and harsh. The style and heading of the film are amazing, and it is fascinating to see the impact Scorsese had with this and his different movies. The methods utilized here will ring chimes with anybody who watches present-day film and TV with in excess of a passing interest. Sopranos specifically owes him an obligation. Here we have the sluggish movements, chest-mounted camera, I'm certain there is a legitimate name for it, great utilization of music, etc. that we have come to be utilized to with Scorsese, and one can't help be dazzled by how advanced these thoughts were at a beginning phase in his profession. Obviously, alongside elaborate constants, a few of the cast would become regulars. Keitel is the core of the film for myself, and, despite the fact that his chances in the content are shockingly restricted, I felt he did well with the subjects gave to him. De Niro obviously grabs the attention more on account of what was to come, yet in addition, since he has the more enthusiastic person. Robinson didn't make a big deal about an impact on me, yet the help cast includes early abandons faces like Provol, Romanus, Argo and others. Mean Roads may be a piece crude but effective when set close to the clean films that Scorsese would proceed to do, yet it doesn't detract from its assets to glance back at it. Such a large amount Scorsese's style and calling cards are set up even at this beginning phase, and his film convincingly makes the roads and characters of the spot. The fundamental players included have improved films since this one, however it is as major areas of strength for yet, and intriguing and certainly worth a search for any individual who has seen some other Scorsese films. Number 50. The Empire Strikes Back. This second portion of the Star Wars franchise, coordinated not by George Lucas but rather by his previous USC mentor Irvin Kershner, is the tautest, a lengthy kickback starting with one combustible set-piece fight then on to the next, which actually carves out opportunity to go to plot, speed and character. After the annihilation of the radical base on Frosty Hoth, Han, Passage, Leia, Fisher, et al., get away from in the Thousand Years Hawk, in the end tracking down questionable safe haven in the city of Bespin. In the meantime, Luke, Hamill, sets out toward the Dagobah framework to be educated in Jedi legend by Yoda. These two plot strands dovetail in the last quarter, when Luke races to Bespin to save his companions and defy Darth Vader, overlooking Yoda's requests that he finish his preparation and taking a chance with his own defenseless transformation to the clouded side.